Yeah, man, that's how that be, yo. I'm telling you, that's what it really be, yo.
That's kind of where I'm at, man. Like right now, my space, where God got me, is I'm big on family and I'm big on legacy. That's where I'm at right now. So, like back when I was first doing it, man, we used to have a show every weekend. You know what I'm saying? Constantly traveling, constantly on the road.
On the road,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But I see the effects of it. I got kids, man. I got 7 kids, man. And so with me having 7 kids, it's like, yo, I can't be everywhere. You know, I work a full-time job and I serve in the ministry.
Right.
That's a lot of hats to wear, man. That stuff puts some time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to make a conscious decision of what I wanted to do in my life.
Yeah.
And it was, it can be emotional because, like I said, for me, when you're an artist, you got that dream of doing it big, or you know what I'm saying,
whatever.
being in front of people, and you got your idea of what success is. But I'll never forget, and this is key to anybody that want to know me, man. When I was like young, like, man, I think I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I was outside playing, and I told you I was co-raised in church, so I was praying, 4-year-old prayer, whatever. But in my head, I was basically talking to God. I was like, God, I'll do whatever I gotta do. I'll work 2 jobs, but the only thing I want is a family. Like, that was my prayer.
That's that's crazy.
That's my prayer, man, and that's all I ever wanted out of life, man. As far as and I got that. So it's like now it's like, okay, now that I got that, you know what I'm saying? So and it's a place to be, but it's like I guess I got talents. I know I can write. You know what I'm saying? I've been writing since I was young. I've been writing music, poetry, books since I was a kid. So but it's like now I'm about legacy. So I got these kids, I need to cultivate them, I need to grow them. They got talent and giftings, but I also want to make sure that, God forbid, if something ever happened to me, they got something they can look back over and say, that was my father.
Yeah.
This is the imprint that he made, not just in my life, but in the lives of other people.
Yeah.
And they don't just got memories only, but they got things that they can actually tangibly touch that still has me passing on information.
Yeah.
So, what, I'm dead and gone, but I'm still teaching them. I'm still training, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Man, that's super important, man. I just want you to know.
That's dope.
All of that, like that, AC, what's up, man?
What's up, King?
Salute, man. For the people that don't know you, who are you?
Name is Alastair Davis, also known as AC the Future. To people that do know me, they just call me AC. First and foremost, definitely a son, a father, and a husband. I do music. That's where the moniker AC the Future comes from. Also a writer. Write books. Have 2 books that I've already published, self-published, and I'm working on a possible 3rd. So, and also serve in ministry. I'm an elder at my church, Rainbow Word Restoration Ministries, right here in Columbia, South Carolina. Got on the leadership shirt, Growing Pride. So you don't know about that, you can check that out, man. I'm just excited to be here, man, with my brother. Dior, we've been going back a long ways, man. I still remember the first time I met, but had me floored, man. So yeah.
No doubt, man. I appreciate that, man. I know that being in ministry is a taxing thing, just like being in fatherhood. It's taxing, being a husband. It taxes your soul and your spirit, man, but it's for the good, and for the betterment, and for your growth. I mean, what do you think you get your inspiration like? What inspires you, man?
The people that need me. I mean, honestly, that's my fuel, man. It's just when I look at my wife, I look at my kids, in my ministry, I look at the people that I'm serving. In music, I look at the people that listen to my music. That's my inspiration, man. I realized that God gave me something that these people stand in need of, and it would be ignorance on my part to not do the best that I can to make sure that they get the part of me that they're supposed to get. I think a lot of times People don't realize that, and it's tough, like you said earlier. You know what I'm saying? When you're doing ministry, doing fatherhood, any of that is taxing. And the reason why is because a lot of those offices are offices where people that you're trying to serve, they have the legal access to you to draw without having to replenish. And so it's a taxing office to fulfill, man, because it's like my wife has legal authority to pull on me, and even though she has commandments to say that she's supposed to restore, if she doesn't, I still commanded to love her in spite of her. My children have legal access to pull for me, and they don't have to restore. You know what I'm saying? And in ministry, people have the legal right to leech off of my life and never even say thank you, and it's still my responsibility to serve. And so in all of those offices, it plays on your mental health, because you don't always feel appreciated, but you still feel needed. You don't always feel celebrated, but you feel used. And so you have to have a perception of that to be able to say, I'm not doing it for the celebration, I'm not doing it for the appreciation, but I do it for the need, and that's what fuels you.
Man, the way you package that, bro. When I think about your music, and I think about your live performance, tell me, like, what do you do to prepare and perfect your live performances, man?
You know, it's gonna sound real, I guess, cliche, but of course, number one is prayer. And the reason why I say that is because my goal with what I do, I honestly believe that my music is ministry. You know what I'm saying? And not in a cliche format. Like, when I say that, I mean, like, I literally go into a place with a targeted goal. So I got a song that God gave me called First Ministry. That song is targeted to minister to the fact that in me doing my music, I was losing my family. Like, and I spoke about that in my song. I spoke about how I was in the studio, and me being in the studio, my son's calling me trying to figure out where I'm at, because it was supposed to be their weekend, but I'm in the studio, or I'm doing a show, so I can't spend time with them. I talked about how I was using money that was supposed to go to bills or to gas to pay for studio time. And so the thing that I felt like was ministry was pulling me away from my first ministry. And so with me writing that song, there would be targeted places where I would go, where God would put in my spirit that there are people that's suffering from the same thing that's in the song.
Right.
So when I go to do the show, I'm intentional about doing that song. And so when I do that with that intention. So it's a lot of prayer. Lord, where am I going? Where I'm going? What do these people need to hear? What part of you know what I'm saying, needs to be expressed? And then secondly, the thing that I always try to do is make sure that I leave everything on the altar. And you know what I'm saying, when I say the altar, I mean wherever that space is that I'm ministering in that area. So if I'm coming there to do a show, I'm coming there to put everything that I got on that place, and that's the end of that. So I'm not coming to be celebrated, to be honored, because, you know what I'm saying, you know this, Dior. We've been in places to where they'll invite us to come do Christian rap, but the people that there don't listen to rap. And so that's the oxymoron, because it's like, you're not going to enjoy it because you don't like it.
You don't like it already.
It doesn't even matter what the message is.
Right.
That's not your style of music. And so that's why you got to be in. I had to develop a prayer and relationship, because it's like, when I got to those places, God would open up the door. Okay, don't do it with music, do it as a spoken word. They'll receive it better.
Yeah, receive it better.
You know what I'm saying? So all of that just goes into it, man, and it helped me to grow, to be more effective. And that's what I chose over everything, is effectiveness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? One thing I always take with me is, a lot of times people look at the aspect of, you know, I need to put on a good show so they'll remember my name. Yeah. And all that's great in the form of artistry, and I don't knock that. I actually celebrate and encourage it. But the thing I'll never forget is this: if I do what's necessary for them to be changed, they may not remember me, but they'll remember the moment. And that's more important than anything.
Than anything else.
So that's what I aim for.
Yeah, man. I had to mention that because, you know, it'd be something that's different about how you do what you do. When it comes to your live performances, man. When you came here, man, you brought me a gift, man. You brought me your book, man. Talk about your book real quick, man.
All right, so the first book is called Remembering the Making, Lyrics and Testimonies. That book was inspired. I had an elder in my church, a guy that's, you know, growing into listening to Christian rap, but he's a little bit older. He just walked up to me one day after I ministered, man. He said, man, I love what you're doing. But I would love if I had a way to see the lyrics so I could follow along, because I don't always catch everything. And it inspired me to say, okay, let me create a content that for people like that where they don't get into rap but they want to, they have something they can get into. So Lyrics and Testimonies is just the lyrics of the song to my album Remnant in the Making, and then after the lyrics it has the testimonies of each song.
So it was somebody that was at the event
Yeah.
that was like, I need you to solve a problem for me.
That's it. That's
right?
exactly how that works.
And so it's layers to it, man.
Yeah.
That's dope. So what was the process like for that? Like, because there's some people that might be looking at this wanting to know how you get started, you know, writing a book. You know?
I reached out to a person that does that walks you through that process. Her name was Tamika Sims.
Yeah.
So I reached out to her, and she was, you know what I'm saying, a phenomenal help with me getting started. She walked me through the steps, broke it down, made it simple, actually made it like I was in schools, gave me assignments or whatever, have this completed by it. And it was like, it gave me an accountability part, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so the first book was simple, man, and because of the fact that, you know, it was just the lyrics to the songs, so that's easy, and then short little paragraphs for the testimony. So the hardest thing was just having the motivation to actually complete a project.
Right.
And so that's what she stepped in at. Now the second book I did, you know, without all of the assistance, and it was a little bit tougher. That's the book 4, A Remnant in the Making story. With that book, I really went more in depth, talking about, because the album Remnant in the Making took 4 years to make.
Man, talk about that story.
So 4 years, man. I think I started writing the project. I want to say it was like, cause I think it came out in 2017. So probably about 2014, somewhere in that area, 15, 14. I started writing the project, and went through a lot of writer's block. And I think it was 2014, my wife and I, 2013, we started going through ectopic pregnancy. We wanted to have children. So the first year was us going through the process of when we got pregnant, my wife was ectopic. And the doctor basically gave us a choice of whether we're gonna keep the baby or we're gonna kill it. And that was like, you know, not keep the child, but how we wanted to kill the child, right? You know what I'm saying? Because there was no
choice is that, man?
Yeah, that's like, what? What you mean?
What kind of choice is that?
And so, you know, that was a blow to our faith, man, because it was like, okay, like, we don't believe in that, you know what I'm saying? Not that we knock anybody that does or not, you know what I'm saying? But we didn't want to kill our child. We wanted to do whatever we could to keep it.
Right.
And so we prayed, we fasted, but you know, we didn't get the results that we believed that, you know, God should have gave us.
Right.
And so that was a tremendous blow to our faith. So I talk about that and what that was like and what that was like to overcome. And then the next two following years, the next year, 2015, we had the flood. And so it made me and my wife, and we ended up having a child shortly after that period. And during that time, the flood came and left us homeless. So I talk about what that experience was like.
How long did you spend homeless, man?
Man, we was basically homeless for about a year and a half. We didn't get our home. We didn't get our house until 2017, so almost 2 years, because the flood happened in October 2015.
Yeah, the 1,000-year flood.
Yeah,
it broke up this street over here. Like,
yeah, man, the experience was crazy because, like, you know what I'm saying, that morning, it was like 2 o'clock that morning. Our son was like maybe a couple weeks old. You know what I'm saying. Maybe a month, because he was born in September, October, so about a month. And so we was in the apartment, and that morning or whatever, we had, like the weekend before, we told them, we was like, hey, we got leaks in the roof. We told the apartment company, and so they was like, all right, we'll send somebody out there to fix it. And so they came, but they was like, oh, it's a bad storm coming, we don't have enough time to fix it, so we're just gonna put this tarp over it, right? Yeah. And so I was like, you know, I'm thinking like, whatever, because we done had storms before, so it's cool. Yeah. That morning, whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, the roof had done split, and water was pouring into the house or whatever. And I had to start pouring, start dripping. And it was dripping right on the bed, so we moved the bed, moved our son's crib, went back to sleep, then it split on another side and started dripping. So we moved again, and then finally, when I woke up again, it was like that's when it was like 2 o'clock. It had to split open all the way, and the water was just pouring in. And I told my wife, I said, hey, we got to go. I said, we didn't even know it was flooded. Right? It was like, hey man, we got to go. I said, because we can't keep him like this. This is ridiculous. So we got up. It was like 2:15 in the morning. We put the son in the car, and we went to leave the neighborhood. Left the neighborhood, went to go make a right turn to like go to my mama's house. She's like 15 minutes from us. Yeah. The road was blocked, and so we had to turn the opposite way. It took us 45 minutes to get to my mom's house, which was 15 minutes away, because we had to keep taking detours. while we was driving, man, I saw water shooting out the manhole covers on the road.
Yeah. Oh man.
And so I'm seeing, I'm like, y'all, what is going on? I had no idea it was a flood.
Yeah.
Got to my mom's house, and she had the news on, because I called and let her know what was coming with her. She had the news on, and I looked. Our apartment complex was completely flooded. We had just missed it.
Wow.
We had just missed it.
So when did you feel like I'm gonna go ahead and pursue the clergy?
So that's that's kind of crazy, man. I never did. But it was kind of one of those things that was kind of always on me, man. And I say that because my mom she was a minister. She was part of the clergy.
Yeah.
Still is.
Right.
And she raised me in church. When I was young, man, I was serving in ministry, serving on youth choir. I mean, ain't too many people who didn't do that, but
Yeah,
you know.
right.
But then one of the things I guess what kind of stood out is that the pastor of the church at the time kind of handpicked me, and he had me sitting in the pulpit with him and stuff, gleaning from him.
Yeah.
Then they had me teaching Bible study at a young age and stuff like that. And it was stuff like that that just kind of always made it seem like there was something different. Even when I got into the streets, when I turned a teenager, you know what I'm saying? Even when I go to my old music, like when I was in the world and doing drugs and all that stuff, I had songs where I was talking to God. You know what I'm saying? I had songs when I was saying, I'm praying that I don't do this. And there was always something in me.
That on started knowing you, yeah.
And
me too, man.
And I guess what solidified it to better answer the question is that people just kept seeing it. So it was never like, I know I see people all the time like, man, I knew God was calling me to preach. I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, I knew God was pulling on me to, I didn't know. What happened was people kept pulling.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know what I'm saying? Finally somebody was like, hey man, I need you to come preach.
Yeah.
And I talked to my pastor about it, and he said, okay. I did the sermon, and after that I said, you know what I'm saying, I started seeing people want me to keep coming preaching. I told my pastor, I said, hey, people want me to preach. I don't feel comfortable preaching without being taught. And that's really how I got into the clergy, honestly.
Man, but just the fact that you were humble enough to say, I don't feel comfortable preaching without being taught, says a lot about your character and how serious you take your mantle. Talk about your teaching and just your leadership and what it's like sitting up under that.
Oh, man, I talk about that all day. And the reason why I say that is because to me, man, that's one of the most instrumental parts of my growth is the teaching. Because I'm a firm believer that you always should be a student. And so for me, it was like, you know what I'm saying, my bishop was always willing to cultivate if you were willing to grow. But he never pushed you if you didn't show signs.
Put it on you.
Yeah, it's just not that. That's not him.
Yeah.
So when I came to him about it, he invited us. He has this thing that he does called app class, which is I don't know. It's basically like him building his own form of seminary.
Right.
So he's trying to turn it into, and it will be soon, a legitimate school.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm like one of the first premier students to come out of that, and we get material and we actually go through tests and do stuff just like you would if you went to seminary. But you get the benefits of being personally mentored by somebody who has that much of an investment in your life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Personal pastor.
Yeah, I saw you go through that process, you know, even to the point where I saw you even integrate your church into one of your videos one time, man. Man, just talk about lyrical assault, man. And just give us talk about that real quick, man.
So, you know, like, you know what I'm saying, for most artists, you know what I'm saying, especially depending on what your culture that you come from, like lyrics is like the most important part of a song, you know what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that you got bars in there, something that's not just, you know, I guess me saying something, but me saying something with some meat, some texture behind it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I always try to, you know, hone my craft. But when I started doing gospel music, it became less about me having the most metaphor-used bar and more about the contextualization of the whole entire project, like the message behind the whole song.
Yeah.
But, you know, I still, as an artist, still want to be able to show that I can do it.
Gifted with the flow, blessed with the state. Got us to the state, there was no replace. And I be going ham on the track, all I ever spit is flame. So in essence, I be serving bacon.
Right.
And so lyrical assault was kind of God gracing me in that area. Like, here, this song, I want you to actually just go in on.
Yeah,
like,
you had a part 1 and you had a part 2. Part 3 is on the album. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so basically the whole message is me, you know what I'm saying, taking that and just going in about a certain topic. So part one was me addressing the media, you know, how the media influences the churches.
Right.
Part two was me talking to the church, talking to the people that's in church, but they're not living right. You're not doing what they're supposed to do. So it was a little bit harsher, but I did that as spoken word, so it come off a little bit softer.
Right.
Part three was towards Christian rap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I remember saying oh, he done did it.
Not to the music, you know that they won't understand. The church is not ready for rap. They think it's whack. That's the reason why they hate it so. So we just gonna do what we want in the streets. Everything that's traditional, let it go. What you mean we gon' let it go? You don't like that old church no more. The hand clapping, foot stamping, till we on the altar till you get the Holy Ghost. Are you serious? You sick or something? What you mean that it was all for nothing? Look, I understand that whole practicality, but dog, you gotta have faith in something.
Yeah, go ahead, my bad. Go ahead.
Nah. But you know what I'm saying? But in everything, it's all in love. You know?
It's a bundle of lies. You're just another coward in disguise. Sorry if that hurt your feelings, but I gotta keep it real and say what's just on my mind.
All in love, you know what I'm saying? Never from a place like, you know what I'm saying, I'm judging you, you know what I'm saying? It's not that. It's more so of a place like I'm addressing the elephant in the room.
Cause Christian rap is so lost today. I feel like it's time we got back on our knees. But we not gonna do it, are we? We just gonna act retarded and blame it all on the crate like, look where this guy done started, yeah.
Because nobody else won't do it.
Nobody else gonna do it.
And then, you know what I'm saying, if you're mad at me, then that's fine. I'm cool with it, you know?
They were like, bro, what you doing? Why would you rap against us? We had such a powerful movement, yeah, but I had to get off of that bus. Cause I ain't like the way we was headed, so I had to switch up my position. Secular rapper, Christian rapper. Nowadays you can't tell the difference, man. And I'm just being honest.
Yeah, that's the purpose of it more so than anything, is just to be able to have that space to where I can kind of show off that I can have these bars, but at the same time, I'm still mission-driven, mission-filled. And I know a lot of people do that throughout their whole entire project, but that's one thing that makes my music so uncomfortable for me, is that that's not always the case. Like, for example, Strength Lies was the latest single that'll be on the next project, but it's already out now.
Yeah, motivates everything. Started out the gutter, got it out the mud. All I knew was struggle, it was in my blood. They say Future, he a thug, man, he out the chain. They say Future, you a thug and that won't ever change. Man, and I thought that was true. All I knew was death. Chronic in my system, had that liquor in my breath. Just a product of the streets, devil with me every step. Man, them demons had me bound, all I needed was some help. And that's when I met God, and he brought me peace. Taught me I was more than just some thug off in the streets. Told me about the son and how he died to set me free. Poured his blood on my life and changed my name to Victory. Though life gets hard, I know I'll be okay. Cause you gave your life to take my sins away. You gave your all, I give you praise. Storms they may come, but I'll never fade. Cause I know where my strength lies, strength lies. I know where my strength lies, strength lies. I know where my strength lies.
When I first wrote that song, man, I was like, yo, I've written better songs than this.
Yeah.
And I let my team hear it, and they had the same perception, like, yeah, this is tight, but I've heard better music from you. And but I just knew that that's what God wanted me to put out.
Right.
And then, you know, by the time it released, the same people who said that was like, yo, man, that song is so powerful.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, that's kind of why I do what I do, man, the way I do it. It's like, it's not about having the strongest content, it's about being the most effective, period.
Right. Man, so you talk about the project that's coming up, man.
It's the overall arching theme of it is hope. And, you know, it's all centered around legacy. Because right now, as it stands, I've been doing Christian rap for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
So it's been a decade that I've been doing it. And so in this project, I'm trying to let it be heard, what it looks like to still be here after a decade. You know, that's what all of my music is kind of solidifying my space. Turning signal, my original turn to salvation.
Yeah.
Far from perfect, me realizing in the midst of me being saved that I still got a lot to work on. Really in the making. I haven't been through a lot as a believer, but I'm still a believer. I haven't fallen away, I haven't walked away, I haven't given up. And now legacy. After being here for so long, what have I done? What have I accomplished? What does it look like?
Telling the story, man.
Yeah, so.
I'm telling the story. Man, so when should we expect another single from the project?
I'm actually working on that now, man. I'm tossed up between which one I'm gonna drop.
That's when you're gonna drop.
Yeah, I got a song called Holy Water with my boy Bino. That was looking at being that one of them. Then I got a song with JB Sampson, VA, and Kyle Eden. So that joint is bananas. So we kind of tossed up. My team say I should just drop both of them at the same time. So I might hit y'all with a 2 piece. I don't know.
2-pack, man.
Yeah,
we need a 2-pack,
quick.
man.
So.
Talk about your team real quick, because I want to shout out to the team.
Oh, yeah.
The AC the Future team. Talk about your team real quick, man.
Man, I got always forever my boy Ice, man, is number one. You know what I'm saying? He been there since day one.
Yeah.
And then recently I got Sierra Bless in the house. She working with me too.
Yeah.
VA, Corey Smith, and your Vision Graphics and Designs has done a lot of my artwork. So that's, my core team as far as who I go to. And they've been real deep in making sure that I have the look that I want, the sound that I want.
Yeah.
And I got some other hits, other people that, play a part. Some people don't play as much of a major role, but those are the ones that have been the core, consistent teams in the season, man. And I couldn't do what I do without them, man. What I don't know, they make me better, and so that's what a team's supposed to do.
Yeah, man. I think it's important that we, talk about that as artists, all the people that are in our life that support us and allow us, that, help us do the things that we do. How do you feel about, the connectivity just within Kingdom Music, that idea?
My perspective of it has grown over the years. I used to be one that was like, man, it ain't no unity, unity. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I get where people are coming from, because from an outlook perspective, the truth is there. Because there's no unity according to your perception of what unity should look like.
What it look like.
You know what I'm saying? But God has graced me to grow. And it's through walking and through looking at the life of Yeshua, Jesus, however, but and how he dealt with people, you know what I'm saying? There were people that he kept real close, you know what I'm saying? Out of the 12, he had 3 that he kept close that went. But then there were 12. So when you look at the 12, not all 12 could go where the 3 went. But they were still considered the 12. But then he had more followers than the 12. You know what I'm saying? And so then outside of that, there were people that he healed and he was like, come follow me. But then there was people that he healed and then he went on about his business. So it's like, when you look at that, it showed me that there's a perception to understand that everybody shouldn't have that much of an access to me. And so my version of what unity should look like it can be skewed if I have too much of an expectation on people that are not supposed to be even that close to my proximity. A wrong mindset too, man. A lot of times we look at success from a personalized level.
Yeah.
But when you really look at it, even when you think about business, most businesses are established over multiple generations. So it's not usually until the 3rd generation that business is self-sustaining. So it takes about 3 generations. That's 3 lifespans, you know what I'm saying? So if I'm trying to build something, I'm expecting to have it built, solidified, sustained, and executing perfectly in just my life. I'm selfish. You know what I'm saying? Because I've already come with the mindset that 1, I can do it all by myself, and 2, God, you got to do it the way I want you to do it, when I want you to do it, and how I want you to do it.
Boy, they gonna get done.
And I'm not saying that it's wrong to have that much of an ambition. I'm saying it's selfish when you don't realize that that's the reason why God is giving you influence in the lives of whether you have children naturally or whether you have children through mentorship. Because some people, we think just because I haven't given birth to someone naturally, God hasn't placed the next leader that's gonna follow behind me in my life. And that's a nugget for somebody that might be needing to hear that.
Yeah, come on, touch on that, man.
So and that's what charges me in what I do, the way I do it. You know what I'm saying? That's why when people ask me, man, what's the biggest thing that you're about? It's family first.
Yeah.
Because I realize my legacy, the things that I do are going to be carried on by the people that come behind me. And it's my responsibility to make sure that they have enough to safeguard the next generation as well. The Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. I know I'm saying a lot of scripture on that, but that's me, man. I can't help it. But that's just me, man, because I when I was looking at it, and that's what I'm on this legacy thing. One of the things that stood out to me was when the Bible talks about, when the children of Israel was in Egypt, talks about how they didn't start suffering persecution until there rose a Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph.
Right.
So as long as Joseph's legacy was in the hearts of Pharaoh, the children of Israel were safe. It's at the moment that his legacy was no longer remembered that they started entering into persecution. And it goes deep into saying that that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to solidify something that feeds the people that are behind us even after our life is gone. And then make sure that we're leaving them something where they're able to do the same for the generation. And that's inheritance.
Big facts. Big facts, man.
One thing I will say, man, as this video ends, it's just like my brother was telling me earlier, man, about, you know, it's a space to heal, man. I say it like this. I had, as a person that went through a lot, in the book I talk about how I battle with anxiety. You know, a lot of us battle with depression. And a lot of times most men don't feel like they have a safe place where they can articulate how they feel emotionally because we don't get to be weak. Because at the moment we feel weak, the people that depend on us feel like we're too fragile to depend on. And that's a hard space to be. I literally had a person come to me one time because I felt like they were close enough that I could show my weakness to. And they told me they couldn't handle me like that. And that hurt me because it was like, dang, man, I thought I could be this vulnerable. But it made me realize that that's just what it is. It's just literally people out there that can't handle your weakness. And that's a tough place to be. But I encourage you to let you know that that's not something to be disappointed about. That's something to be strong in. That's something to take resonance of, that there are people out there that have to see you strong, and that's why you continue to press. So yes, what you feel is true, but at the same time, the same God that allowed you to have grace to make it to where you are today, he'll even grace you in the midst of everything that you're battling with emotionally. So
AC.
Yes, sir.
Man, I appreciate you, Ken.
Hey, man, I appreciate the opportunity to say something, man. I hope somebody, man, gets something from this, man, and just stay encouraged, man.